Hi everyone, so today I will be making yellow lentils, and it's a dish that's consumed all over India, and it's pretty easy and quick to make, so that's why I chose this for my recipe in this video. So let's get started then. Make yellow lentils, what you need is that you need yellow lentils. Not a surprise, but then first of all this needs to be cleaned. Like, you need to clean it with water, drain the water a couple of times, and then we'll put it in a pressure cooker. Let's start with cleaning the lentils. It's important to just remove any outer covering that's coming out, or any impurities that can just simply float in water. So this kind of really helps, and I do it a couple of times before actually putting in a pressure cooker. And yeah, as you can see, the water has actually changed. Like, it was transparent initially and now it's more turbid with all the impurities in it, and I'll be draining it out and then doing it once again. And in terms of quantity, I have basically taken about, I would say about 100 grams, if I'm not wrong, or thereabout, and it would serve me like 2 meals basically. So if you are cooking, it would be enough for 2 people, I would say, for 1 meal basically. And again, I guess the water has become turbid, so I will just decant this, and this was my final washing. After this, I'll be putting it into the pressure cooker and we'll be making it. So now I have finally washed the lentils and this is how it looks. It's time to put it in a pressure cooker and cook these lentils. In the meantime, I'll make the curry, and that's one of the more important parts of the recipe. Taking a pressure cooker, and just throwing all the lentil in this cooker. Now for about one of this, like that I took in terms of lentils, I'll add probably 2 bowls or 2 cups of water in it, and that should be good. There goes the first cup. And there goes the second cup. I feel this should be good enough. 1:2. Just remember that, and you should be good. So now it's time to, oops, this came out. So now it's time to put it on a stove, and I'll put it on high flame. That's how I do most of my cooking. So I'll put it on the stove and then let it have about 2 whistles at high flame, and that should be good enough. So now, as you can see, the lentils are gonna cook. It's on high flame, and in the meantime I'll show you what needs to be done for the curry, because the recipe has 2 parts to it. One is the lentils. That's easier to make. You just need to just clean them and boil them and like put them in a pressure cooker. The other part of the recipe is making the gravy and combining it with this lentils. That will be the third part. So let's focus on the second part, that's making the gravy in the meantime, and what we need for that. So to make the gravy, we basically need 1 medium-sized onion, 1.5 medium-sized tomatoes, about, I would say, about 1 centimeter of ginger, or I don't know how to measure it. So, and 1 clove of garlic. And since my spice levels aren't that high as most of other people on who will be watching this video, so I'll just take a little bit of green chili, and it's time to chop them. Now in terms of chopping, We, except for the tomatoes, everything needs to be finely chopped. And for tomatoes, I'll basically be grinding them, so I'll be just roughly chopping them. So I begin with onions. Not that tough to finely chop onions. This one was smoother to cut than the previous half. I always thought making a cooking video is pretty easy, but as it turns out, it's not. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of camera work. Now ginger garlic is done. Next would be our little bit of green chili. You can definitely increase your spice level by adding more of green chilies, but I generally don't prefer to have really spicy, so I'll keep it at the bare minimum of 1. May not even use the entire 1, to be honest, because I'll be adding red chili powder to it, so I may not need that much of green chilies, and I rely more on other spices in my cooking that I'll be mentioning to enhance the taste of the curry and the overall dish instead of just using green chilies. So this is done. Onions, garlic, ginger and green chilies. So it's time for the first whistle. So now our first whistle is done, and as soon as we have the second whistle, we just need to turn the gas off and put it on another. It actually depends a lot on, like on the type of lentil that you're cooking and the number of whistles that you need. For yellow lentils, it's almost the minimum. You just need 2 whistles and that's more than enough, because when we'll be mixing it with the curry, we'll actually be, boiling it at that time as well. So it should be good enough and you don't need more than that. Now we are only left with making a paste of tomatoes, so I'll just show that as well. It's actually the more easier part of I would say of cooking, because you don't have to actually finely chop, as you don't have to finely chop the tomatoes. It just needs to be roughly chopped. Or so tomato paste is now ready, and it's time to basically make a curry out of it. And before we do that, I've taken cinnamon, and I believe this much of cinnamon should be good enough. Let's try to break it as much as we can. If we can, yeah, I was able to do it into half. That should be good enough. Apart from that, I've taken 1 clove, and again try to break this as much as possible. So now Indian dishes are a lot about, I would say, about spices. The right combination of spices, the different kind of combination of spices actually, changes the dish, one dish from the other, and that's what we generally do for the taste. So in terms of spices, I'll take about 1 teaspoon of I'll take a 1 tablespoon of coriander powder. This makes it 1 tablespoon. And yes, to increase the spice level of the dish, I'll take a little bit of red chili powder. Not really opt for really high spicy stuff. Apart from this, I'll add black pepper. Okay, a little bit more of black pepper. Also, this is for just for demonstration purposes. You can definitely add a little more if you want when you are cooking it. It all depends on one's taste. And apart, also I'll be adding turmeric. About this much of turmeric should be good. So now, apart from these spices, I'll be adding cumin seeds or cumin seeds, like however we pronounce it, and that'll be added straight to the oil, and that's the first thing that goes in. And I'd really like to see them sizzle, and I'll show you how it sizzles. And also salt is again as per taste, so I haven't added it here in the mix. It will be added separately. Okay, so since I'm making it in a more traditional way, I'll be using ghee or ghee or whatever, like it's called here, like it's called clarified butter. Scoop of this, and it's almost equivalent to, I would say, about 3 tablespoons of a cooking oil. It looks not a lot of ghee or butter or whatever we want to call it. It's pretty normal by my standards for this kind of a dish. Doesn't let it, just get it a little hotter. It's slowly getting hot, and first things first, at this moment we can definitely add our cinnamon and clove that we took earlier. That's the first thing that goes into the dish. As soon as those make their way, and I feel that the oil is, or the butter is now really hot, so this should be the right time to add the cumin seeds and see if it's really hot. Nah, this is oh yeah, this is hot. This is definitely good enough, so I'll add about 1 tablespoon of cumin seeds, not a lot, and see them sizzle actually. Okay, this is good. Just stir it once. Once this is done, the next thing that goes in will be ginger, garlic and the green chili. So I've added the green chilies, garlic and ginger. So I kind of forget what I have to say. So as we can see that they're turning golden and just gonna get brown. This is actually the ginger, the garlic. It gets cooked up really quick. So this is the right time now. It hasn't even taken a minute, to cook once your oil is really hot. So now it's the right time to add onions to it, and that will take some time to cook. So onions have been added, and my take on this dish or in any dish is that I don't like to keep onions in a crunchy or just half cook them. I really like to cook them really well, but that doesn't mean that I'll actually get them to a level where they are brown or blackish, where they lose their taste actually. So it's just right before that, when they're gonna change their color to that level, that I'll add tomato puree that I made. But by doing so, I kind of don't like to keep it crunchy. That's one thing, but at the same time I also want the sweetness of the onions to not get lost. They're cooking. While they're almost going to be almost done, when I feel they're almost done, that'll be the time when I'll be adding all the spice mix that I prepared earlier. Because water has a lot of water, tomato actually has a lot of water content in it. So once you add tomatoes to the curry, your spices won't cook. So if you have to cook your spices, or if you have to roast your spices, you have to do it before that, and that's why I took everything except for salt in that mix, because salt will be added once I'll add that tomato puree. So you need to be, one thing when you're cooking at a high flame is that you need to stir it all the time, because it can easily stick on at the bottom. So to avoid that, you have to keep your hands going. So now as we can see, our onions are almost done, I would say. They are up to a level where I can introduce the spice mix and just cook them together. So I'll add the spice mix to it. If I feel I took a little bit less of anything, I'll just add it once again. So I know it won't cook once tomatoes are added, but it would still give that color and taste to some extent. Almost, I would say, cook it to this stage, bring it to this, and then add your tomato puree to it. Now tomato puree has been added to it, and as you can see, it's still very dark. That's okay. Now that I have added water to the gravy, I'll be adding I'll be adding salt to it and giving it a nice boil before we introduce lentils to it. Now salt is actually as per your own taste. I like to make it really salty enough, so I'll add about 1 tablespoon, and then I generally add more while eating as well, so that's one thing. So let us give this a nice boil. So this is how it looks right now. It'll boil, it'll take some about couple of minutes easily, and let it just cook for a while. While our curry is still boiling, I'll show you how the lentils look. This is how it is. They are looking really good now. The last portion of the dish will be just to transfer this into this, and we will be done. And to lose that, you need to scrape it off from the sides, because it starts get sticking there, the oil and everything. So you need to scrape it off constantly. That's one thing. And then yeah, let it just cook. So our gravy is almost going to get prepared, and as we can see, it has a really it has a really nice red color, dark red color, I would call it. And yeah, it's now almost time to transfer the lentils that we have into this, and then give it a mix together. I'll just do it like, let it cook for just 1 more minute before I transfer the lentils. Nice. This is how it should be. Okay, so I have transferred the lentils into that gravy, and as we can see, looks really nice to me. And now we just need to give it a mix together, and so that all the spices mix really well with each other, with the lentils, and we get a more thick thick of a dish, and not really